funny that my channel is called Gun Totin' Minnesotan, because I'm always shooting in Wisconsin, so I don't know why I even named it that. Anyways, this is the CZ 455. If you've watched my channel for a while now, you know that I like CZ quite a bit. I'm not a fanboy. I will, I'll criticize anything that doesn't work, and if it sucks and they put out a product, I want people to know. There are examples of that with CZ. I think some of the Ramy series had problems. Anything they make in 40 is not something I would recommend. But when it comes to their 22 rifles and their cold hammer forged barrels and the action specifically of the 455 and the 452, I've got some experience there, and I really do like these rifles a lot. This isn't one where I wait till the end and then I tell you what I think. I'm just going to tell you what I think up front because I don't feel like doing long reviews on this kind of stuff. So I have two bolt guns here. I have a Savage 12 FV wearing a burst. That's the 4-20 first vocal plane with the G2B, the G2B reticle. Basically, it's just hashes and then mil dots. So the hashes are your halves and your mil dots. Actually, I should probably look at this real quick. See if I got that wrong. Yeah, so your hashes are halves and your dots are mil dots, properly spaced. And so 4-20 is a really good range of magnification. I've been running SWFAs for a couple years now, and I really like SWFAs. I don't think they're a bad scope at all. I just had an opportunity though to upgrade to a better optic, and so far what I'm finding with these, this one with a sunshade on it and the other one, every scope is a character, but the tracking is just as good as the SWFA, so why not throw in a little variable magnification? I don't need these scopes to be battle proof really or anything like that. As long as the tracking is good, light collection is decent, and the reticle is usable, I'm very happy with it. And so that brings me back to, anyways, the rifle. So this 455 has just been a project for me. When I first got it, it just comes in the Boyd stock. It came with maybe a 3.5 pound trigger. There was a swivel stud, but nothing for Picatinny for a bipod. In fact, there's two swivel studs when you get it. And I shot it right away, right out of the box, and it did pretty well. I could tell it was worth investing some time into. So I extended the stock, and all I did is put a limb saver extender on there because the length of pull is just too short. I'm 6'5", 230 pounds, and it's just a little small. And so I added on to that. I kind of made my own riser here, cheek riser. It's basically just fabric pieces underneath and then a cover. And that gets me up to where I need to be. I have an EGW 20 MOA base. This rifle mostly gets shot at kind of long range, at least long range for a 22, out to at least, let's say max distance where I'm still effective 400 yards with this rifle. A little bit of wind can throw that off right away, but if it's a dead night like tonight, about 400 yards. I shoot it at 250 yards every week, and I'll show you some groups later. I don't want to start talking without showing the groups. I'll show you the groups later so you can see how the rifle performs. I've outfitted it with just a really cheap 2-point sling. Kind of helps if you ever shoot NRL 22. Sometimes you really need a sling. It's got the UTG bipod. This is the small, short one. I really, I don't prefer this, but it's the best thing that I've got so far. I think I'll update to that Magpul bipod pretty soon. The trigger, I did take out the spring and I put in, I want to say it's like just under 2 pounds, or maybe right at 2 pounds spring. I don't have a lineman trigger pull, but that's what it is. So this action actually can be swapped out. It's easy to swap out barrels on these deals, and so you could go to a 17 or 22 Magnum. I have no interest in those at all. I think they're kind of neat, but I have no interest in switching that out at all. I have no interest in putting a new barrel on it, and those groups are going to show you why. I know a lot of guys, as soon as they get a CZ, the first thing they do is start modifying it. The few modifications I had to do were really cheek riser, trigger spring, it needed it, and then I did have to float this Boyd stock. It was touching a little bit. I could not free float paper test it because it was binding up right away, so I sanded that sucker out pretty good. Just minor modifications. I added this Picatinny piece down here so I could put on this bipod, but really there wasn't that much going on here, and I didn't want to put a new barrel on that action because I was getting impossibly good results with cheap ammo. So I'll just jump to the ammos. Let me grab this for you. So I shoot this weirds people out, but I shoot mostly 2 ammos. I shoot Aguila and Federal. And Aguila, this is their Super Extra. It's a 40 grain, it's a copper bullet. I found that out to 250, 300 yards, actually we'll say at 300 yards, this stabilizes just fine. As long as it's not windy, I'm getting really good results with that. And I'm not sure on the formula on this one yet, but somehow Federal Auto Match, which is a crappy round. I've shot it through lots of other rifles and pistols, mostly pistols, and the round just doesn't seem that great, but for some reason, I get really tight results with this occasionally. I mean really tight. I'm talking 1/4 inch at 100 yards with this round. I don't know what it is. It just seems to work with the harmonics pretty well. And so that round out at distance, it does fine. There's a couple other rounds I shoot sometimes, but most of my groups are ever done with that. Anything that I've kept that have been good groups are done with that. The rifle overall, it's 16 inches, and I really love that it's a 16-inch rifle. I have long rifles, my Savage behind it, that's a 26-inch barrel. I don't need more really long 22s. If you look at my old videos, I have a 452 that's got a very long 22 barrel, and the powder is just super done by the time it gets there. You have to shoot like a 45 grain projectile to make that worthwhile. And so overall, this rifle being threaded, I do plan on getting a can on it at some point. I've shot it with other people's can, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I think that might even help with the harmonic balance and some of the ammo that I'm shooting and the way that I absorb recoil. I've actually noticed that the device on the end, it's almost like a tuner that you can slip over the barrel, and it just performed really, really well. I've run this a few times, only a few matches for NRL 22, and I didn't have the burst on it. I was running SWFA, I think, or Premier Arms. It's kind of been a couple months. Should probably get back at that, but I was running a different optic at the time. This optic only goes down to 50 yards for parallax, and I kind of don't care about that anymore because I don't really like to shoot at 25 or even 50 yards that much, maybe just for fun. I just shot 3/4 inch groups. Maybe it might be less. It might be like it might be an 1/8 inch group because it looks like one bullet hole. It's amazing. I just shot 3 in a row with this rifle with a Federal at 50 yards, and sometimes I do that. It's just for plinking, you know. So if you're a kind of person who doesn't want to spend a huge amount of money, you don't want to buy that Lapua Center X ammo, but you want impossibly good results, I would say learn a good cleaning regiment, free float this rifle, put in a proper trigger, make sure you have a reliable optic for sure, get the rear of the rifle handled so that you can absorb recoil the same way every time. Consider a muzzle device of some sort. Maybe a silencer is a good plan for you. Putting the can on there could help with other character rifles as well. Every rifle is different, but this is my experience so far. I'll tell you a couple things that I don't love about the rifle. The bolt throw, it's just a little heavy. That's the truth. It's a little heavy. It's not real smooth, but if that's the price that I pay for getting 1/4 inch groups and 1/2 inch groups fairly repeatedly at 100 yards with this rifle, 1 inch groups at 200 yards, I will pay that price. That does not bother me at all. It throws me off a little bit when I'm trying to stay on my bag, and most of the time I'm shooting from the prone. I'm just super happy with it. By the way, the rings that I've been running millet rings. They're steel in both rifles, and I really, really do think that that's a high quality ring actually. I haven't heard much about it, but the tolerances seem really good. It's a very affordable steel ring. I paid $47 for them. They're on sale, but I paid $47 for those rings, and they're fantastic. I would have preferred if this base was steel, but I digress. Anyways, it comes with a 5-shot magazine. I would go ahead and upgrade and get a 10-shot magazine as well. You're going to want it. You're going to be flying through ammo with this rifle. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. My 452 is very, 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 very good. I've gotten some great results with that rifle as well. But this, because of the capabilities, being threaded, the bull barrel, the stock that's a little more modular, I'd say, this rifle is fantastic. CZ, if you're watching, one thing I want to throw at you is it should come with a lighter trigger if this is going to be a precision tactical kind of rifle. It's called the Tacticool. Make sure you put in a match trigger spring right off the bat. The trigger shape is just fine, but it should definitely be 2 pounds, I'd say, stock. Right out of the gate, it should be 2 pounds. This isn't a hunting rifle necessarily that you're going to be walking around the woods with. And just make sure it's drop safe, CZ. So 2 pounds there would be pretty good. I think the Boyd stock was a good choice. It's just a short length of pull, and I noticed a lot of people are adding to it. Some sort of cheek riser option. I don't know. I suppose that brings up the price quite a bit, but it would have been nice. And the last thing I would comment on, CZ, if you were listening, do not put on dovetail. This is like the air that the air gun company makes, or the companies make. It's just really old technology, and it's really frustrating to not be able to get this optic down lower. I have to use a converter, and I wanted to put a 20 MOA rail in there anyways, but Picatinny just would have been so much more convenient. In all honesty, I can actually, I think, let's see, I gotta read my numbers here. Yeah, even without the base, I can run it out to 425 just fine. So if it was Picatinny, I'd be pretty happy. I could dial back magnification and just do holdovers at 500 yards if I didn't want to use the EGW. That's going to cost you about $75, maybe $70 for the EGW. I think it's a little overpriced, but CZ, it's just one of those companies where there's not a huge amount of parts made for them, but they're quality parts, most of them that exist. So I'm really happy with it. Now I think I should jump over and show you some groups with the rifle, because it's flipping phenomenal. I don't have really anything bad to say about precision. It's very easy to be accurate with. Nice thing about being next to the highway is you don't piss off a lot of people when you're shooting, because nobody can really even hear your shots because it's so loud. The bad thing about being next to the highway is it's so loud you can't hear your shots sometimes. It's hard to hear steel every once in a while. I'm going to shoot 5 shots at 100 yards just using some of this Federal auto match. And I got nothing to hide. I have the groups to prove that the rifle does well. We'll see if I do well tonight. It's kind of on me because conditions are perfect. Absolutely perfect. So quickly, here will be some groups. I'll show you. At closer ranges like 25 yards, I don't have a lot because it's just one hole groups all day long. Here's at 80 yards, 5 shots, half-inch group. Pretty repeatable. At 100 yards, there's a good group. It should have been about a 1/4 inch, but I definitely, I had a flyer up here. So 1/4 inch group, cut it out to half-inch. And what do we have here? Let's see, that's a 50-yard group, and again, there's a flyer. Could be ammo, more than likely it's me. So one hole groups at 50 yards are pretty frequent. Here's a 200-yard group. It should have been a 1-inch group. I definitely had either a flyer. I could see that having a higher velocity or a lower velocity, or just maybe recoiling bad. So that's pretty good. I mean, if you consider what you're looking at here, this is an inch, less than an inch actually, and it's 1 3/4 inches together, so that's really not bad. And then let's see, another half-inch group at 100 yards. And that one's using 38 grain American Eagle. That's not typical, but these are the kind of results that you can definitely expect to get with that rifle. Well, I'm just about to close up shop. Shot for a few hours tonight. I didn't get as much in as I wanted to. I wanted to do some distance stuff tonight, but the rifle was performing really well at like 75 and 80 yards. The groups I was getting, I had to keep going at that distance. I was getting a couple 1/4 inch groups at 80 yards, which made me really happy tonight. So rifle's fantastic. As far as what would I rate this rifle, as it comes from the factory, I'd have to say, compared to all other production rifles out there that are in its price point, it's definitely going to be a 9 out of 10. It's definitely above, leaps and bounds above the competition. I think there were some valid criticisms I had here for it. I forgot to point out one. One of the studs was actually really, really tight, and I could not use an adapter on it. I had to back it out a little bit. Not the biggest deal, I guess, but you couldn't even get a swivel in there if you wanted to. It was in so far, so probably a little quality control issue there. Anyways, this rifle, as far as what can you expect, I feel comfortable saying if you are a shooter who has reliable skills, like with your other rifles, you accomplish at least, let's say 3/4 MOA groups, kind of on a regular basis. If that's the kind of person that you are, I feel comfortable in saying, especially with the right ammo, with the Lapua Center X, you probably are going to ring out consistent half-inch groups. That won't be surprising. 1/4 inch occasionally. I get 1/4 inch groups, sometimes. It's not every group. I'm not getting 1/4 inch groups every group, so I'm going to call it more like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch group. Man, the bugs are so bad right now. This is Gun Toting Minnesotan. Thanks for stopping by and sort of subscribing and watching my videos. I don't get paid for any of this. I don't have a Patreon. I don't care about any of that. I do this just for fun. If you like CZ or you don't like CZ, either way, I think this rifle is absolutely worth your money. Stay tuned. In the future, we're going to have a review for the Burris 4-20 first focal plane G2B. Let's go.